Good morning. You're listening to Insurance Matchmaking, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance. And now, sharing his knowledge, here's your host, Matt Libby.
All right, welcome back to Insurance Matchmaking. Hopefully I'll try not to do too much coughing and make too much work for my producer here to get those coughs out. Did go to the doctor this week. She said I had bronchitis and also treating me for acid reflux that will actually irritate your throat and make you cough also. So am doing better. I got a steroid shot and some antibiotics, so I'm doing better than I was last week. So I didn't listen to the show, so I don't know how many of the coughs he was actually able to edit out, but hopefully we won't have as much trouble with that today. But I'm sitting here at the end of June. We'll be going into Independence Day next week. This will be my last show in June. And so I want to wish everybody a very happy Independence Day. And I'm kind of getting on my soapbox here. My saying is the holiday is Independence Day. July 4th is a date on the calendar. So it's just one of those things, you know. We don't celebrate December 25th. We celebrate Thanksgiving. We celebrate Christmas. It's the holiday. And I feel like we've kind of lessened the holiday by making it more about what day it is. It's kind of like Memorial Day. You know, it's not the time to thank veterans. It's actually a very somber remembrance. Kind of like, you know, we remember Pearl Harbor Day. We remember 9/11. We don't celebrate those days. But the thing with Memorial Day, it kind of kicks off the summer, so it does have that festive thought to it. But it's, you know, it's supposed to be a remembrance, you know, and it's for those that have gone before, those that paid the ultimate sacrifice. So yes, I'm sorry, I'm getting on my soapbox on those a little bit here, but they're important to me, you know. And it's, don't wish somebody happy Memorial Day. You wouldn't wish somebody happy funeral. So if you kind of think of it that way, you realize, oh, it makes sense. You know, yes, it's not something we celebrate. We do want to remember, and that's what we use the term commemorate. And that's the way I feel about the 4th of July. That's the day of our independence, a day we celebrate. And unfortunately, I think this is going to be the last year that I get to enjoy red, white, and boom from my backyard. I live near the fairgrounds. It's great. You know, we have family over. We don't have to get in the car, find a parking spot. We just walk a little ways through a tree line and put up our chairs and watch the fireworks. So at least this year, hopefully the weather will be good. It's hard to tell sometimes. That'll kind of sneak up on us. But the other thing I kind of also want to get into a little bit, just kind of some fun stuff right now. I mentioned a little bit on one of my more recent shows, and I have it in my newsletter. If you're one of my clients, then you get the newsletter. If you'd like to get our newsletter, you can always go to insurancematchmaking.com. You can just put in your name and email, and we can add you to our newsletter list. But anyway, I started last month talking about our Texas saga. I mean, it was a great trip, but boy, there was some parts of it that were not so great. Just kind of a recap, if you didn't hear me talk about it on the previous show, is we had a niece getting married in Texas. It's my sister-in-law's daughter. And last fall, we went up to Connecticut, stayed at West Point, and took our trailer. So we had some vacation time, and were able to be close by for the wedding. It was very convenient, and just go, you know, we were camping close by. And so we thought, well, that'll work good too. Even though, yes, we knew we were going to Texas in June and it was going to be hot. And then we started having all these thunderstorms in July. Boy, I'm jumping forward. The thunderstorms there in May. And it's like, and we had some really severe ones here, and especially down, you know, southwest here in Texas and Oklahoma, they were having some really bad ones. We're like, oh my goodness, we're going to be probably going right into some of this bad weather. And we did. Our trip got changed. We had some stops lined up along the way. And then we were going to camp at Tyler State Park outside of Tyler, Texas, and camp there for a night, and then go to San Antonio for a couple days, and then come back to Tyler, leave our camper there for a couple days while we went for the weekend into the Dallas area, and stay at the hotel with the rest of the relatives for the wedding, and then back to the campground and then head home. Well, just a couple days before we left, we found out that the campground that we were going to go to in San Antonio was closed because of storm damage, and so we weren't able to go there. So we ended up, we'll just made reservations because we had the same spot at Tyler, So it was going to be real simple. We'll just come back to the same spot. Chances were pretty good, and it worked out. Was the 2 days in between our stay that we weren't going to be there. Of course, nobody had booked that spot. So we were able to get a reservation in have those 5 days in a row, 6 days in a row, whatever it was, at the same camping spot. Problem was, we got in there on Monday afternoon, and the storm had come through on Sunday and knocked the power out. So there was no electricity when we first rolled in. And then later came back on, and then bad storms again hit and wiped out, 100,000, or they have over 100,000 subscribers for their power for the company there, and there's other power companies. And it's like 66,000 of them were out, which included the campground we were at. So, people think, well, camping, you don't need power. It's like, yeah, but when you take a camper and a trailer, you're expecting to be able to plug that in and use that electricity and have that air conditioning. We didn't have that. So that was fun. Like I said, I go into a little more detail in the newsletter about that. I started it in our June newsletter, and I'm finishing that story in the July newsletter. But, and then if you didn't hear it on here, the trip didn't start out real well either. We were all loaded up, ready to go. We were ahead of the schedule of when I wanted to actually leave. Janice noticed a nail sticking out of the front tire of our Armada. That's our tow vehicle for our camper. So had to unhook the trailer, which that was a chore. It didn't. The ball didn't want to release like it should, so I was fighting with that. Finally got it loose and had to go to 3 different shops before I could find somebody that could do something about the tire in less than an hour and a half. It was like, it can be at least an hour and a half. And it's like, if I'm going to wait that long, I could probably jack it up and get a plug kit and do it myself, which I didn't want to do. But I was able finally to get that taken care of, and we got on the road. Other than that, pretty much uneventful, other than, like I said, the power outages and that. But we had a good trip, did some sightseeing. Janice was able to check off one of the things off of her bucket list. She's been dealing with a company called Stitch in Heaven. She's a quilter. You maybe heard me mention that before. And they do online classes, and I think she's talked to some of the people at some of the quilt shows she goes to. But she had never been able to go to their home site where they have classes and they have a quilt store. And it was really great. And one of the great things about it was she's working on a quilt for my daughter, and she wasn't going to have enough material for what she wanted to use for the backing of it, and was able to find the exact same material and got that. So that went really well. So that was one of her things on her bucket list we were able to check off. And like I said, we did some other sightseeing, went to an East Texas oil museum, oil history in Kilgore, Texas. It's on a campus of Kilgore College, or maybe university. I can't remember which it is, but it was really nice museum, and we enjoyed that. I enjoy Texas. I was in Texas for 6 months back when I was in the Army at Fort Hood. I went through the Apache Training Brigade there. When our unit I was in switched from having the AH-1 Cobras to the AH-64 Apaches. So spent a summer there. So I knew what a summer in Texas was like. So I knew that was going to happen. So like I said, I can ask about the newsletter. I'm actually thinking I may even, it'll be a long read, but I may just post the whole story on a Facebook post or something, and if you want to read it, you can read it. We'll see about that. The other thing I'm going to talk, I guess I'll hit this one out before we go in the break. We are needing help. If you listen to my show, you know that this time last year we put out an ad. Maybe it may even been a little bit later, but hey, we needed a receptionist in the office. We're coming up on the enrollment season, and we really need to get that going, to have someone that can set the appointments for us so we can concentrate on doing those enrollments and not taking the time just setting appointments and getting paperwork out and answering the phones and things like that. Because myself, I've always done, if I'm sitting with you in an appointment, my phone rings, I don't answer it. My wife knows I'm not going to answer the phone if she calls if I'm busy. Now, if she calls, 2-3 times right in a row, okay, I might think there might be some kind of emergency. But usually if I don't answer, she'll leave a voicemail or a text and I'll get back to her. But it's like, that's your time. You've set that time to be with me, for me to help you with something. That's your time, and that's the way we're going to treat it. And So I don't answer the phone. So that's why I really need someone to be able to answer the phone, schedule those appointments and such so that we can get you going. And we will get you settled and get you taken care of. But I'm going to need a receptionist again this year. That's how we found Kalia last year, and it turned out Kalia was already a licensed agent. So we should be able to get somebody else in. And I think Kalia mentioned it when she was on the show here with me recently. She's expecting, and it's going to be like in September. So right when we're starting to get busy, starting to wrap up our August. So she figured September, she's probably be around, be available for. So we're going to need somebody. So right now we're looking for somebody to start out part-time. That's the way I did it last year with Kalia, was at least to have somebody to work, say, from 10 to 2, kind of the bulk of the day when people are calling in. Bree likes to come in early. I usually am the one that stays late. So just kind of having that extra help in the middle of the day is going to be very helpful. So we're looking for somebody that maybe doesn't want a full-time job, and that, for a few hours in the middle of the day works well for their schedule. And then they can maybe expand the hours once in a while. We may sometimes want someone to work on a Saturday, just depending on how things go on. When we get into the enrollment season, for me, Saturday is always a work day, and maybe not a full work day a lot of times, but I'll usually put in half a day. So from October to December, I'm usually working 6 days a week. There's only so many days, so many hours in a day to get those enrollments done, and this year is going to be a very interesting year when it comes to enrollments. And I'll talk a little bit more about that here after the break. So we'll take the break here and be back in a few.
This is James Green, your local Twin Lakes security sales consultant. This summer, whether you're off on a grand vacation or enjoying a staycation in your own backyard, our smart home solutions make it a breeze to keep tabs on everything. With our remote video monitoring, alarm notifications, and power outage alerts, you can enjoy your summer worry-free. Already have a security system? No problem. Switch to Twin Lakes today and score 3 months free monitoring on us. To learn more, call 931-528-2005 or visit us online at twinlakes.net.
Twin Lakes Security, TN-CERT C-0026.
Looking to spruce up your home without breaking the bank? Visit Habitat Restore for incredible deals on furniture, appliances, home decor, and more. Plus, when you shop at Habitat Restore, you're not just getting great deals, you're also supporting your local community. Are you looking to make a meaningful impact? Consider donating to Habitat Restore. Your generosity can make a world of difference. Habitat Restore, open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., and located at 560 South Jefferson Avenue in Cookeville.
And now, back to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby Insurance.
All right, welcome back. As I was talking about before the break, we're looking for a part-time receptionist. They must be over 18. We deal with HIPAA. We have to be able to, so it has to be an adult that can sign paperwork saying that they won't disclose personal information. The other thing on that is it does have to be someone who can pass a background check. I'm sorry, you maybe have turned your life around, but if you have a felony conviction, I cannot use you in my office. That would be, I would probably lose my what we call E&O insurance. That's my malpractice insurance. That things like that would be a violation, or the carriers, if they knew I had a felon working in my office, they said, well, you can't represent us anymore. I just can't have that. I got to be able to know that I can trust you. We're dealing with personal information, Social Security numbers, all that. So if you know somebody that that they could pass that background check and they're an honest person, that's somebody I'd like to talk to. So you can tell them that I am looking to hire someone part-time, but I don't want to just blast it out all over Facebook and in all those kind of things because I get everybody that they say they want a job, they just want a paycheck. I need somebody who will come to work and have high standards. So, if you know somebody that you think this job might work for, please send them my way. Ask them to send me a resume, and we'll see if we can work something out. As I mentioned, the looking to hire another person is that we're getting into that open enrollment prep time, and it may not seem like it to you, or like it's just June, Matt. You're talking about the fall. But June 24th, the AHIP launched, and I know that's one of those acronyms. You've maybe heard me mention it before, but not one of those things that you keep on the tip of your tongue. But the AHIP is that test that I have to take every year to be able to offer the Medicare Advantage and the Part D prescription drug plans. I have to recertify every year with that. Get to pay for it too, so that's fun. But on June 24th is when they actually launch that training and that testing, that certification for the 2025 enrollment year, which we do that in the fall. It's so weird because I'll talk about things and I'll say this year, that, next year, last year, and I get them all messed up. It's kind of like people get mixed up. We're not that far from the Eastern time zone and try to figure out, well, I'm going to go to Knoxville and I got to leave at this time to be there at this time, or and you turn it around and you double the time difference because you're adding it when you should have subtracted it. And those are always fun. But for me this year, when I'm in enrollment season, is actually next year. and then when I'm talking to somebody and I'll talk about, well, last year, and realize, oh no, it's this year. I'm talking to somebody that maybe moved or lost their job, has special enrollment in January, but now I'm in the new year, and so it's kind of like, oh, I was doing that last year, and I get it mixed up. But that being said, we have to start our preparations for the open enrollment. We have to do the AHIP, and then after we do the AHIP, we have to do certifications with all the carriers that we represent, and we have to do that every year. I was able to knock out one. They had an accelerated track that I didn't have to take the AHIP first with that carrier, so that one's knocked out. I don't have to worry about going back to doing that. But I do need to get that AHIP done, and Bree and I will be working on that here in the next couple months. And then we've got to start getting ready to do that enrollment. And I've mentioned a couple times on here, because of the Inflation Reduction Act, there's been some big changes to the Part D drug coverage for Medicare. So everybody that has a Part D plan definitely wants to get with, if not with me, at least get with their agent and see if that's still going to be the right plan for them for next year. Rates are going to go up. Premiums are going to go up on those drug plans. The deductible, which is $545, and that's $545 for your brand name drugs generally, the tier 3 and higher. That's going to $590 for 2025. So there's that cost going to go up. The premiums are going to go up. So the co-pays are going to go up on those drug plans. So we really need to look and make sure that they're still on the right plan for them. And we do that at no cost to the individual. And as I said, it's not the motto, but one of the policies of the Boy Scouts when they went camping is always leave it better than you found it. And that's what I do when I meet with prospective clients. If the plan they're on is going to be still the best fit for them, I'll just tell them, well, it's good for you, doesn't help me, but hopefully somebody else I might be able to help you, send them my way. That's how we get paid. You don't pay us for our services. We get paid by the insurance company for being your agent and enrolling you in that plan. But if you're already in that plan, we don't get paid to re-enroll you in the same plan. But so we hope we can find a plan that maybe fits a little better. But if it doesn't, we just say thanks for using our services, but keep what you got. But so that's going to be a biggie there, and it's also going to affect the Medicare Advantage plans. The Medicare Advantage plans, they have that Part D included in those plans. And so those costs are going to affect the insurance companies on those plans also. So they're going to find ways. They're going to raise some copays on things, raise some deductibles and things like that, maybe cut back on some of their extra benefits. So those extra benefits may be a little bit better on another plan. So that's, again, something we can look at, but it still might make sense to just keep what you have. But especially on the drug plan, if you don't change it during that annual election period from October 15th to December 7th, then you're going to have that same plan for the next year unless you qualify for some other special enrollment. So it's really imperative to get that done. The Medicare Advantage plans, you get another 3 months after the first of the year to reevaluate and change your plan for the following month. So it's not quite as critical to get that done during the AEP, but it is important. We want to try to get as many people done through that, especially those that are already my clients. I do not call an 800 number I'm not the only local agent. If you're not going to talk to me, talk to somebody else local. We know the doctors, the plans, how they work in this community or the community you live in. We're familiar with that. And again, I moved here from East Tennessee, so if you know somebody, in the Knoxville area or even the Tri-Cities, I can help them, and I've worked with clients in those areas. So those are the things that I can help with too. So that's with the Medicare. And the reason I'm bringing that up is in September, which is not that far off, we're almost in July, is we're going to be asking people to send in those updated drug lists. If you've changed doctors, and those things, remind us which doctors you prefer and which hospitals you prefer. That makes a big difference, too. There are some plans here in Middle Tennessee. Most people are kind of concerned to make sure Vanderbilt's in network. The East Tennessee folks are concerned if UT Medical is in network. So those are a couple things we look at there. And then what some of the other hospitals. Our hospital here, Cookeville Regional, is a Covenant hospital, which so is Crossville and several of the hospitals across East Tennessee. So I've always been familiar with working with the groups that do with Covenant Health. And then we also have the Ascension hospitals in our area. So there's different networks, and it makes a difference a lot of times which plan you have if you're going to be able to go. And those things change, and unfortunately those networks aren't tied to the enrollment periods or to the calendar. They can, a provider can leave a carrier in the middle of the year, or the insurance company can drop that provider in the middle of the year. And then you either have to hope you have a way to change your plan or have to change your provider. And somebody who's maybe been going to the same primary care doctor for 10, 15, 20 years, they're usually not wanting to try to break in a new doctor. So we want to make sure that you have a plan that you can keep the doctor you have. I always hear the one, I don't like that plan. They tell me what doctors I can see. And it's like, well, no, they don't tell you what they don't tell you what doctor to go to. They just tell you which doctor that your insurance will pay for or not. Nobody can tell you what doctor to go to, but if you want insurance to help pay for it, yes, you have to stay in that network. So that's a big deal there. So we'll be doing that prep for the plan there. And then also I wanted to get out, and actually I think I may do that in the next show. I have some things to talk about, some scheduling and things coming up. Obviously, I think you know the show is not live. I generally record this show on Thursdays, and it's a half-hour show, so we knock out that show. Unfortunately, today I do have the time. I'm going to be able to get in a recording for a second show because next Thursday is the 4th of July. So nobody's going to be working on the holiday. So this way I get the show recorded, and we've got the next Saturday covered, and I don't have to run a repeat. So, and I'm going to talk about some scheduling of things coming up. I'm going to talk about that on the next show. I do ask, if you're listening to this on the radio, that's great. I do ask you still, if you go to insurancematchmaking.com, past shows are there. We have those recorded as a YouTube. Please, go to that YouTube, like it, maybe comment on it, subscribe to my channel. That helps other people find me and find out that I can help them. I had somebody call me last night that's trying to get some help for his brother, and the brother, I got a voicemail from him this morning. I have to, if Clay doesn't get a hold of him before I get to the office, I need to try to schedule with him because we're running up against the end of the month, and if you want something to take effect the next month, it's got to be done by the last day of the month. So, and this Friday is, in which, when you're listening to that, this Friday I'm talking about was yesterday, was the last working day of the month. I'm not going to be able to do it on Saturday. Got some other, I could work on Saturday. That happens sometimes when, because Monday's the 1st. So sometimes I will make exceptions and work a Saturday outside of the enrollment season just because it's like the last day or next to the last day of the month, and get somebody taken care of so they have something in place for the first of the month. And that was something that kind of happened yesterday too. Had a couple of individuals call in looking, having some issues with the plan they were on and wanting to try to change. And turned out, I think we may still be able to help. What happened was there is a plan that's available here in Tennessee, but it's not in our area. And so the problem with it not being available in our area, the doctors here aren't in network with it. Nothing wrong with the plan. It's with a fairly well-known company, maybe not well-known as you think of in the insurance realm, but in the healthcare realm, it is a company you would recognize if I said the name. But it still run into the doctors aren't in network with that because that isn't the network here. In Nashville, works just fine. So, but trying to figure out the person, they'd moved here recently, but it's been a few months, but they had that plan. So they had to either had that plan when they moved from the previous state, or they were in a different part of Tennessee when they signed up for the plan because they couldn't have signed up for that plan living here. So that's somebody we might be able to still help and get them done, like I said, before the end of the month and get that plan in place for July. So those are some of the things that we try to get people and help them out. And if we can help them, we can. Sometimes we can't. The other thing we run up against, though, is sometimes people, like they've aged off a parent's plan or something like that, and they have no income. They can get a plan through the marketplace, but they're going to have to pay full price for it. They don't get any tax assistance. You do have to have a minimum income to be able to do that. So that's one of the things we have to look for. So we're coming up on the end here. Again, don't forget insurancematchmaking.com. And please leave your comments. Please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And hopefully we can get some more people that I can help because they've found me online.
You've been listening to Insurance Matchmaking with Matt Libby, your path to health, life, and Medicare coverage with Matt Libby Insurance.